समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Last weekend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was greeted with colour and warmth on his first visit to Manipur since the ethnic pogrom which began in 2023. The ethnic warfare has claimed the lives of at least 260 people and forced more than 60,000 mainly Kuki-Zo refugees from their homes and lands. The Prime Minister pointed to development work being carried out by the new administration, but he had no roadmap for political reconciliation between the Meitei and the Kuki-Zo, nor a promise to hold perpetrators responsible for the slaughter that brought about this division of society. Even though killings of civilians have declined sharply since the carnage of 23 and 24, data from the authoritative South Asia Terrorism Portal demonstrates insurgents now have a presence of a level not seen for almost a decade. So, now the visit's done, what comes next? I'm Praveen Swami and I'm a contributing editor to ThePrint. I'll talk you through the wider story of how Manipur got where it has and what the path forward might be. First, the notes of the conch shell were heard, and then His Highness Maharaja Bodh Chandra Singh, all 125 kilograms of him, appeared. A colossal figure in gold-spangled green velvet vestment, the journalist Robert Turnbull reported, and an enormous white turban that spouted long feathers from some exotic bird. His immense brown arms were bare, except for tiers of fixed gold bangles, the journalist went on. One earlobe dripped loops of gold so weighty that they had to be supported by lacy golden chains over his upper ear. Lifted off his wildly painted and bedizened elephant by his crew, the Maharaja coxswained one of two boats which were due to race that day, the 11th of the Meitei calendar of Langban. To ensure the first race was won by a boat coxswained by a man representing the god Vishnu, the Maharaja steered his own boat helpfully into the riverbank. The second, though, he claimed as winner, as was fitting for a monarch representing the will of God on earth. There is no record that tells us what the two prime ministers who were present there that day, Burma's U Nu and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, made of the spectacle they saw on the 30th of March 1953. Just like them, Prime Minister Narendra Modi soaked up all the colour and warmth of Manipur. But beneath that, there was an uglier taste. Back in 1953, Prime Minister Nehru did learn something. For all the scenic spectacle, the people of the Northeast weren't some village idiots easily seduced by baubles and handouts. After the district commissioner declined to accept a petition for the creation of a Nagaland, an independent Nagaland, the 3,000 odd tribespeople who had come to see Nehru walked out. The chiefs of the Sema, Santag and Konyak tribes left a petition, and it read, "What right you got to be king over us? You can come to free Naga country and give us book knowledge, make out living very good if you like, but you cannot be king over us." For his part, U Nu of Burma held out a more blunt message at his one road stop. U Nu had come to Imphal hoping for a chance to end the murderous ethnic warfare that was then plaguing the borders. 10 miles from the border, just a few days earlier, Burmese troops had hacked their way through the forest to ambush Salau Naga insurgents, killing 32 tribesmen. The Burmese leader invited Indian Nagas to cross freely into Burma to impart what he thought was their more advanced civilization to their Burmese cousins. But he said their knives should be left at home. There will be no more incidents such as cutting each other's heads off, he observed. Leaders from the Indian plains have an intense attachment to time-worn cliches about the Northeast. At a meeting in Imphal, the Prime Minister described Manipur as, I quote, a jewel adorning the crown of Mother India. Prime Minister Nehru used almost exactly the same words back in 1953. And for her part, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi expressed hope that Manipur would, I quote, shine like a gem and impart beauty to the whole of India. The truth was, as is usual, somewhat less poetic. At Prime Minister Indira's 1969 rally in Imphal, police had to use live fire to drive back protesters. So much for jewels. The radicalization of politics in Manipur had already begun before India's independence. The arrival of missionaries in the hill tracts created new communal strains between and within communities. Levies of rice for the plains, moreover, created desperate economic hardship. In 1939, women demanding rice were attacked by police. Leadership of the protests was taken over by Irabo Singh, the son-in-law of the Maharaja. The women, author Homen Borgohain records, Irabo Singh, had asked for a handful of rice and you gave them a pail of blood. For many in Manipur, the issue wasn't just rice. Accession to India choked their political aspirations, which they saw as legitimate. Even though the state had authored its own constitution in 1948 and conducted elections where, as historian Priyadarshini Gangte reminds us, each candidate had a ballot box of their own bearing their photograph, it was only accorded the category of a so-called C category state, that is, one with no elected leadership. That was seen as a betrayal. Like so many radicals, Irabo Singh widened his politics in prison, where he ended up after the rice protests. Following meetings with other incarcerated ethnic nationalists in Sylhet jail, he came to the conclusion that only a cross-ethnic rebellion, including Meiteis, Nagas, Kukis, and the Zo, could succeed in breaking away from India. This would later draw him away from his ethnic nationalist roots into the ranks of the Communist Party of India. Efforts to build an armed resistance, though, proved a lot harder than Irabo had perhaps imagined. The Meitei State Committee, set up in 1966, turned for support to the so-called federal government of Nagaland to create a joint revolutionary movement. Historian N. Joykumar Singh has written. The Nagas had warm words but showed little inclination to share weapons. Some insurgent leaders had hoped the Chinese would be forthcoming with aid, but the People's Liberation Army and the Communist Party didn't trust the church-inspired hill communities like the Nagas very deeply. Led by Oinam Sudhir Kumar Singh, the United National Liberation Front now sought to build an armed movement around the Meiteis themselves, promising to use force to drive out migrants like ethnic Marwadi traders from Bengal. The movement reached out to both China and Pakistan, but again was treated with a little suspicion. The revolutionary government of Manipur, the next iteration of these armed struggle efforts, did succeed in receiving training at a Pakistan army base near Sylhet. The group's cadre conducted a series of successful operations in Manipur, including robbing the post office in Imphal and the office of Imperial College. The War of 1971, though, led to the liberation of what was then East Pakistan, became Bangladesh, and that put an end to the support for these operations. From 1978 on, the People's Liberation Army, led by N. Bisheshwar Singh, again resumed the campaign, mounting a series of lethal actions against Indian forces. The People's Revolutionary Party of Kangle Pak and the Kangle Pak Communist Party joined the campaign. Levels of violence would keep on surging until the mid-1980s. Those pails of blood that had been talked about in 1939, they were real now. The militarization of each ethnic group, however, compelled its neighbors to go down the same path. The National Socialist Council of Nagaland's Isaac Muvia faction exercised de facto control over 4 of 5 hill districts in Manipur: Ukhrul, Senapati, Tamenglong and Chandel. Even though it signed a ceasefire agreement with the Union government in 1997, it retained on-ground power. To make things worse, The PLA allied with the rival NSCN Khaplang faction and began operating from bases located inside Myanmar. Extortion and drug money fueled the fire. From the early 1990s, the region saw multiple interethnic conflicts: Kuki Naga, Meitei Muslim, Kuki Karbi, Himar Dimasa, and even Kuki Tamil clashes, pitting the community against traders in Moreh who'd settled there during British imperial rule. The extension of the ceasefire with the NSCN-IM into Manipur in 2001 sparked large-scale violence, as many ordinary Meitei feared that their state would soon be divided. Even as all this went on, there were signs of hopeful change. Evidence exists that a genuine multi-ethnic society began to emerge in cities like Imphal, with Kuki-Zo communities capitalizing on education and caste reservations to expand their economic opportunities. But chauvinists among the Meiteis saw this as a threat. Laws prohibited Meitei from buying land in the hills, and the community feared it would thus eventually be overrun if hill people kept moving into the plains. To repair this toxic identity politics and build democratic institutions in which Manipuris of all ethnic backgrounds could meaningfully participate remains an enormous challenge. The process will need sustained political effort by parties from across India, not just the execution of some plans by bureaucrats. The Prime Minister's 3-hour visit, sadly, doesn't even mark a first step towards making Manipur whole again. I'm Praveen Swami and I'm a contributing editor with ThePrint. Thank you for watching this episode of Security Code.